Your perspective in terms of the growth story for Amazon and the way in which it is managing its business amid what many are feeling is a regulatory pushback.
Well, I think the expectation qualitatively was total dominance, and their results came in line with their expectations. This is a company that now accounts for $1 and $2 in the most valuable channel in the world. That's U.S. e-commerce. It's the share leader in the fastest, most profitable sector, or fastest growing and most profitable sector in technology, the cloud. And oh, by the way, they're the fastest growing media company, over $1 billion with Amazon Media Group. So I would argue we've never seen a company firing on this many cylinders in modern business history. So it's a juggernaut.
Yeah, and so I just want to point out here, we are looking at their investment. They've been talking a lot about boosting their investments in data centers. We're looking at, on the capital lease side, that's up to over $10 billion, almost $11 billion. It was $10 billion in the previous quarter. And remember, just a couple of quarters ago, it was only about $3 billion.
Scott, obviously Amazon facing a lot of regulatory threats theoretically. We don't know if anything's going to actually happen. Politicians talk, Elizabeth Warren talking about breaking up big tech. In the absence of something major like that, whether it's something from this administration or something further, is there anything that can get in the way of this juggernaut, or is it just too dominant and executing too well to be stopped in this regulatory environment?
Well, the things that disrupt you are the things you don't see coming, but I don't see anything coming. It's just difficult to see where they're vulnerable at this point. I think the only place they're vulnerable is what you mentioned, and that's antitrust action. I do believe if antitrust action ever becomes a serious threat, and Washington sees past the 88 full-time lobbyists employed by Amazon in D.C. that are there today, every day, talking down the notion of antitrust, I think you'll see prophylactically, I think you would see Amazon spin AWS, and on the spin would be one of the 10 most valuable companies in the world. So even if antitrust comes, you're still looking at just enormous shareholder gains. It's great to be an unregulated monopoly.
Amazon blowing the earnings per share and the earnings expectations out of the water. One thing I'm wondering is its own online sales and competing with other independent retailers. How do you see this playing out, and what kind of pushback do you expect from retailers that see Amazon putting their own products ahead of the others?
Well, keep in mind, Amazon, I believe this year is going to announce somewhere between 50 and 70 private label brands. So they have squarely decided to compete with their retailers. And this isn't anything new. We've seen retailers launch their own private label brands before. We've just never seen anybody this good at it. And it brings up one of the core issues around antitrust, and that is the company that owns the rails and can see where all the data and all the products are flowing, should they be competing with the people that they're shipping the products of? And this is the primary concern. But every retailer in America has one existential threat, and it's a company in Seattle.
Well, so, Scott, one thing that's interesting here is that sort of push to move towards reliance more on the third-party sellers, this idea that reduces the cost burden for Amazon itself, while at the same time it sort of partakes in that sort of gross merchandise value. How do you see that as a future for the company, given that it's now become such a huge percentage of their revenue?
Well, there's this incredible flywheel effect, and that is the third-party marketplace serves as a fantastic business, but also gives them insights into which businesses are not only high margin, but perhaps they can leverage what is one of the largest fulfillment networks ever assembled in the history of modern business. And then they can decide to go into that business, as they have with private label around batteries and all sorts of other businesses. But you're talking about valuation. I saw Microsoft just hit $1 trillion. I consistently get asked, what will be the first $1 trillion company? My answer is I don't know, but I'm fairly certain the first $2 trillion company will be Amazon, and it'll be on the backs of Amazon getting into another industry, and that is healthcare.